One of the most common themes in isekai anime is that the main character is absurdly overpowered. Some examples include that time I got reincarnated as a slime, how not to summon a demon lord, Arifureta, and so much more. Regardless of their history, whenever they get transported to a new world, they'll have powers that rival the gods, seemingly making them unstoppable by anyone in the world. Which is why I decided to make this video. Out of all the isekai anime that is out there, I wanted to make a video talking about the strongest main characters in the isekai genre. Welcome back to Apheliotes. Now before we get started, make sure to like this video, share it with your friends, and also subscribe to my channel for more anime and manga recommendations. With that being said, let's get right on into it. Here's my top 10 list of overpowered main characters in the isekai world. Now this list is in no particular order, but at number 10 we have Diablo from How Not to Summon a Demon Lord. Ever want to be transported into your most favorite game? Well, that's exactly what happened in this anime. The main character Diablo actually got transported to his favorite MMORPG game where he is considered to be the Demon Lord. A little backstory behind this is that two girls called Shara and Rem decided to summon him and make him their slave. However, their summoning spell backfired and instead did the opposite and made them into his slaves. He soon realizes that he is in fact his main character that he played in his favorite game. Because of this, he is able to have some of the highest stats anyone has ever seen, as well as being able to wield some of the strongest magic spells in existence. And although he has social anxiety in real life, he eventually decides to start acting like his in-game character, using his high stats and incredible knowledge of the world to survive, and also look for a way to unenslave Shara and Rem. Aside from that, he also helps solve their issues as well as why they summon him. Being as how that is, it certainly is a fun anime to watch that does have a lot of the cliches that isekai is known for. Number 9. Hajime from Arifureta. If you're talking about a character who starts off at weak and eventually becomes one of the strongest characters in the world in less than one episode, then this is it. The anime follows the main character Hajime, who is transported to another world along with the rest of his class. They are each all given magical abilities, however him being unlucky got the worst ability of them all. Because of this, he's constantly being made fun of. Eventually, the entire class goes into a dungeon to do some training where they somehow got warped into the lower levels of the dungeon where they had to fight off high level monsters. It was during this fight where he was betrayed and caused him to fall down the bridge into the depths of the dungeon. While there, he is forced to battle against some of the strongest monsters he has ever seen using only his weak ability. He starts eating the monsters to survive and eventually takes on the skills, thus eventually making him into one of the most powerful characters in the world. As he continues to gain strength in the dungeon, he eventually finds some comrades and starts to travel around trying to find a way back home. Seeing him travel around improving his skills and continuing to get stronger is truly one of the most interesting things to see. Number 8. Maple from Bofuri. Although not really in another world, it does take place inside of an MMORPG. The main character Kaede, or Maple which is her in-game name, decides to play one of the most popular games around. Being scared of taking damage, she decides to focus on leveling up her defensive stats, which leads to some of the funniest and unique battling strategies ever. Being as how her defense is so high, she moves very slowly and can't use magic, but does have powerful skills known as absolute defense and counter, which works in her favor. With these skills, she is able to play the game and dominate it completely with her high defense. And surprisingly enough, she also is very lucky because she commonly finds some of the most unique and rare skills the game has created. Aside from that, she also manages to make a guild that somehow has players with some very unique abilities. Now being as how that is, this show isn't some epic anime where people are battling it out non-stop. Instead, viewers of the show will be amazed by the smart thinking and strategies used by Maple as she journeys away into playing this game. Number 7. Toya from In Another World Was My Smartphone. quite a different take from most other isekais, we have a 15-year-old kid called Toya who is accidentally killed by God. As a result, God allows him to be resurrected in a new world since he is unable to send him back to his old one. He is then resurrected into a fantasy world with one special request, and that request is to have the ability to bring his smartphone with him, which God agrees and helps modify it as well as to work in this world. As such, he is not able to contact his old world, but the phone he carries can easily be recharged by magic and can also function accessing information from his original world, making this smartphone one of the strongest items in the world. But not only that, he also greatly amplifies Toyo's physical, magical, and cognitive abilities as a further apology for killing him. With his newfound life, he takes full advantage and starts traveling around the world meeting people, making friends, and starts to solve various kinds of problems, disputes, and anything else that comes along his way. It's a fun and lighthearted adventure with some quirky characters that come our way, which makes it to be a quite enjoyable show to watch. Number 6. Sato from Death March to the Parallel World Rhapsody. Being a 29-year-old game programmer can be quite tiring, especially if you're forced to fix several bugs in an MMORPG that your company is creating. However, after working himself to sleep, he mysteriously wakes up in another world that oddly looks familiar to the MMORPG that he is working on. But this time, instead of being a 29-year-old programmer, he is now a 15-year-old kid named Sato. Trying to figure out exactly what happened, a horde of lizardmen suddenly decides to ambush him and starts to attack him. Out of fear, he uses a special attack called Meteor Rain, which suddenly kills all the lizardmen at once and wipes them out, thus making his levels jump from level 1 all the way to level 310. This jump results in him maxing out his stats immensely while also making him one of the most powerful humans in the world. With no way to return home, he is now forced to travel around and unravel the secrets that this world contains. In doing so, he also ends up making a lot of friends who accompany him as he travels around while also keeping his powers a secret. Number 5. Kirito from Sword Art Online. Now I'm sure you all have been waiting for this mention. Arguably one of the most popular isekai genres around, Sword Art Online has been a fan favorite for many long years. This anime basically takes place inside of a futuristic VR MMORPG game called Sword Art Online, where players can wear a nerve gear helmet and be transported into the gaming world. Using only their minds, they can control their characters' every movement. Now what was supposed to be a friendly game quickly turned wrong when over 10,000 players became trapped in the game with no way out. The only way to get free from the game is to actually beat the game by progressing through each and every level. And this is where our main character Kirito, who played as a beta tester for this game before, takes it upon himself to solo through the entire game using the knowledge that he has attained from the game previously. And after progressing through various levels and achieving feats no other players have done, he was rewarded with a unique skill that allowed him to dual wield, an ability that only he himself can have. And using these skills, he eventually gains some allies with them and starts to make his way up the tower in order to find a way to beat the game. Number 4. Naofumi from The Rising of the Shield Hero. Summoned into a parallel world with a group of 3 other guys to become the world's cardinal heroes and fight hordes of monsters might sound like a dream come true for some. However, for the main character Naofumi, that dream turned into a nightmare. Each of the heroes summoned all have their own unique legendary equipment to use. However, for our boy Naofumi, all he got was a legendary shield, while others got a weapons to attack. Already put at a disadvantage, his luck turns even worse when he was betrayed and condemned for sexual assaulting the kingdom's princess. Mocked by everyone, his once kind-hearted soul has now turned cynical, where he is forced to rely on himself to make ends meet. However, he soon finds out that his shield isn't as useless as everyone claimed to be. In fact, it is the opposite. His shield is able to gain any type of property from whatever it consumes, making it to be one of the strongest items in the world. With his newfound abilities, he eventually gains some companions to go with him, and they work together to try to be the saviors of the world, while also figuring out why the monsters are a threat. Number 3. Makoto from Tsukimichi Moonlit Fantasy. Having parents who come from another world might sound cool and all, but from the deals to have their kid to be transported to that world to become a hero is another thing. That's exactly what happened to Makoto, who found himself mysteriously transported in front of a goddess. Unfortunately for him, the goddess seemed to have found Makoto to be so ugly that he is unfit to be a hero. Because of this, he is stripped of his hero title and given the ability to understand all languages except for the human language. Not only that, but the goddess even decides to send Makoto off into the furthest edges of the wasteland, which is home to monsters and demons. Now, due to him being from another world and coming to this new world, his abilities have vastly grown as they were actually being suppressed in his original world. He soon finds out that he is absurdly overpowered, and using his newfound abilities, he is able to make friends with various kinds of demi-humans and mythical beings who end up joining him in building a new community where they can all get along. Nevertheless, he still wants to meet fellow humans and interact with those of his kind, so he sets out on a journey to accomplish his goals. Number 2. Rimuru from That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. It's one thing to be a corporate salary worker in Japan and another to be stabbed on the street. That's exactly what happened to my boy Satoru. After being stabbed, he somehow finds himself awakening to a whole new fantasy world. But instead of being human, he is actually a slime monster. This starts the adventure of one of the goofiest yet lighthearted shows in existence. Satoru soon finds himself having some really overpowered abilities, like one where he is able to manifest the attributes and physical characteristics of anything he analyzes and eats. With that, he soon befriends a dragon called Valdora, who grants him the name Rimuru, which further boosted his already overpowered self. With his newfound powers, he eventually befriends and gains the loyalty of all the monsters that live inside of a forest, and thus making him their leader. And together, they all form a new nation called Tempest, which is rapidly growing in strength and influence. Due to this, Rimuru and his friends will have to navigate through various problems and conflicts in order to live the life that they want. Number 1. Ain's old gown from Overlord. This should be no surprise to any Isekai fans, as Overlord is one of the animes that is probably the strongest main characters of them all. Having to know that his beloved game Yggdrasil is coming to an end, the main character Ainz decides to spend his last few minutes in the game as the server starts to shut down. And to his surprise, despite the game officially being closed, he is still fully conscious as his in-game character. Not only that, all the NPC type characters have all seemed to have developed a mind of their own. Being stuck with his wild situation, he decides to use his power to command his servants to help him investigate what is going on, as well as taking over the new world. Being capable of wielding a number of skills as well as possessing super tiered magic, this is the one guy you definitely don't want to fight against. He even has an alter ego where he pretends to be a hero for the common people. And what's great is that he really cares deeply for his allies. Anyone who messes with his friends will usually face a cruel, harsh punishment. But with all that being said, Overlord is truly one of the most merciless and action-packed animes you have ever seen. And with that brings us to the end of this video. I just want to say thank you all for watching, and hopefully you all enjoyed watching this because I had a lot of fun making this. If you want to see more content like this, be sure to like this video and also subscribe to my channel, as it will mean so much to me. And with that being said, I'll see you later.